Welcome to eBuilder University's on-demand video training. If you'd like to learn more about additional training opportunities, please contact your account manager. Now let's jump into Managing Meeting Minutes training.
Good day, everyone. This is Martin Estezarian, eBuilder Certified Trainer, and we are on the second video of our calendar module training series. And in this video, we're going to learn how to execute the meeting within the Meeting Minutes module or the calendar module, and also understand what the recipients or the invitees of the meeting are going to see when they receive an invitation for a meeting from the calendar module. So let's start with this. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into our calendar module. And as I mentioned in the first video, that the only place we can take meeting minutes in eBuilder within the calendar module is within a specific project. So I'm going to go here to the right-hand side, and I'm going to choose the project where I actually created my event. Once I'm in the project calendar, you will see the event listed here in the form of a box. So the event has been sent out to multiple people that we've invited, and what I've done is I've actually brought up an email here that will show you exactly what the event invite looks like. So I kind of invited myself to this meeting, and this is exactly what the recipient of the invitation would receive. And it would basically give them some very basic details: the name of the project, the start time, the end time, the location, whether their attendance is required. Maybe they would see an agenda in that agenda box that I showed you in the first video, and any kind of supporting attachments that I would need them to see prior to the meeting. Now, the cool thing about this is that you also have the ability to accept, decline, or claim yourself as tentatively attending the meeting, which is great because ultimately when the attendee clicks any of these links, it will communicate it back to the eBuilder system, as I will show you in just a moment. So what I'm going to do is, as this person who's invited, I'm going to click accept. And once I click accept, it's going to bring me into an eBuilder screen. And again, it doesn't necessarily mean I need to be a licensed user to do this. As you can see, I sent this to a private email. But the fact that I will attend and I accepted the meeting, it will note it in the meeting details within eBuilder. So now I'm going to go back to the project calendar, and I'm going to open up this event. Now, when you open up the event, it's almost as if you are about to conduct the meeting. And there's a note that I want everybody to be aware of, okay? When you are taking meeting minutes in the eBuilder Meeting Minutes module, you have one of two choices, and I guarantee you're probably going to choose the second one. The first one is to take the meeting minutes within eBuilder while you are conducting the meeting. Now, if you are a very fast typer, if you will, or if you can actually take notes and just jump from topic to topic fairly quickly, then doing it in eBuilder would be fine. However, more people actually prefer a second option. What they'll probably do is they will take the person who is designated to take the meeting minutes and record all the details, and that person will later come into eBuilder and record all the details of the meeting minutes. I will show you exactly why that's important. So, what you are seeing here on the page is me opening up the meeting as the person who is designated to take the meeting minutes for the design review meeting we have programmed here, okay? So when I first open it, you're going to see here in the header area all the details that we've already seen in the invite that I sent out to the person that we kind of pretended we were on the other screen. And right below, you're going to see a couple of tabs that are going to allow you to get started in recording meeting minutes. But the first thing I want to point out is the Attendees tab, because obviously before a meeting begins, you're going to want to find out who your attendees are and who's accepted and who hasn't. So you will note that here in the Comcast address that I was showing in the previous screen, when I clicked accept, it actually recorded it as an accepted status here in the calendar module, which is great. This means that a person who was unlicensed or a person who is licensed can actually accept and communicate with the eBuilder system in the event that someone within the organization not only has to conduct a meeting with someone who's involved in the project, but also someone outside the project. We can record their attendance. Here, what you can do is you can control attendance. So if you click Update Attendance, for instance, you can actually confirm whether any of these people attended. Someone may accept, but they may not necessarily attend the meeting. So you can actually confirm here whether or not they've attended the meeting by clicking Save, which is very important, specifically if these meetings are going to be used as public record later on. Very important. Next, in the Attendees tab, one more thing. Let's say someone decides to join the meeting sporadically. In other words, let's say we invited 10 people, but an 11th, 12th, or 13th person needs to join. So eBuilder offers you the ability to do that within this tab as well. And if you click Add, you can basically just add the attendee right on the fly when you need them in the meeting and record the fact that they attended. Now, once you've settled out all your attendee information, you can also navigate the other fields here, which will give you some pretty good information and are equipped way back when we actually did the invitation. I don't know if you guys recall, but these tabs became available when we were actually creating the event. And the one that I do want to point out is the Documents tab. I did mention in the previous video that the Documents tab can be used to attach some sort of a document that could be used as reference for the meeting. This is something that you wanted to send to your attendees prior to the meeting to make sure they were ready for the meeting, for the discussion, and they understood exactly what the discussion points were, aside from giving them an agenda. Once all of this due diligence is completed, now you can jump in and start taking meeting minutes. So I'm going to introduce you here to what we call the dynamic row that eBuilder offers here in order to start recording minutes. And you'll understand why I call it dynamic in just a couple minutes. I will point that out. So when you are looking at this row of information that's highlighted in yellow right now, in essence, what you're going to do is you're going to record three major pieces of information. You're going to record the topic that you were discussing, the discussion points around that topic, and the status of that topic. And the reason this is such an important thing, the status, is because typically when you're having a meeting about something, there's typically some sort of an action that has to be taken, or you're discussing maybe an issue, and you can status that issue accordingly with this drop-down menu to, once again, take advantage of the most important reason people buy eBuilder, which is reporting. So you can always go back in and say, hey, how many things do I have in a closed or an open status across all my design review meetings? Always keep an eye on that. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here on the left-hand side, and I'm going to start from left to right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to choose a topic. Now, this list of topics here is actually pre-populated. Every account will have a different list depending on what your organization desires. However, you are not limited to this list. If something does not exist in this list that you want to call out as a topic, you can actually write it out. So I'm just going to go schematic design and put in my topic manually. So again, you do have the choice of choosing from the pre-populated list or typing it out manually. Now you will go into this rich text box once again on the right hand side, and you will type out all the notes, right? So you can basically type out all the details that were discussed during this portion of the meeting. And then finally, you can declare whether it has an open status or a closed status. I'm going to leave this as an open status because we literally just took the notes, and this is the first design review meeting for this project. Now, here comes the reason why I said that this was dynamic, because as I write down all this information and I record it for the topic of schematic design, I'm going to click Add, and it's going to create another row underneath it. And here I can probably put Design Documents, type in all the notes associated to that right below, and declare what status it has, whether it's open or closed, and once again we will leave it as open. Now, the reason that I mentioned at the very beginning whether or not you wanted to do this during the meeting or you wanted to do this after the meeting was because of the very user experience that we're having right now. I have enough experience in the industry to know that meetings may have an agenda. We may have a list of things that we're going to discuss in a certain order, but sometimes meetings don't necessarily go as planned. In other words, we have 5 topics that we want to discuss in a certain sequential order, but sometimes we jump into the third topic before we actually discuss the second topic, if you will. So because the way eBuilder is set up, if let's say we were talking about design documents and we wanted to come back into schematic design, we would have to click Edit here and start taking notes. Now, it's not impossible. I don't think it's something that someone, has to avoid doing, but in my humble opinion, I think that it's better for that person taking the notes to gather all the notes first and organize it on their own and then come over here and compartmentalize them nice and neat in eBuilder. I think it would be a much better way of recording the information, a much more organized approach. In essence, a little bit easier to do in eBuilder that way as well. Right now, we currently have 2 topics that have been discussed in this first design review meeting. And the next thing I want you to pay attention to is the numbering schema that each one of these lines have. The The numbering system is very, very easy. The first number in the 2-number system here represents the meeting number. So in essence, this is the first design review meeting for this project. I want to make sure that everybody understands that. In other words, this 1 is not for the entire program. It's for this specific project that we are conducting the meeting in. And number 1, the one next to it here, obviously represents the number of the topic that we discussed. So 1.1 means that in design review meeting number 1, the first topic of discussion was schematic design. The second topic of discussion was design documents and all the associated notes. Now, if we move to the right here, we're going to have a couple of links here that are pretty useful. Not in our case at this point because there's very little history, but if I click view, it will give you a history on anything that has been discussed around this topic. Okay, so again, we're actually in the first meeting right now, so there's not a lot of variety here, but it's a quick link for anybody to click that's managing the minutes to actually gain access to information that was shared in previous meetings with a click of a mouse, which I think is very important and a nice, efficient way of gathering information. To the right, we're going to find, once again, the ability to keep something in open or closed status. And then as we proceed to the right even more, we're going to come across this column that's very interesting. It's called Action Required. Now, this column is very, very useful specifically for accounts that are using our Forms module. What it does is that obviously if there's some action required within the topic of discussion, what this link will allow you to do, it will allow you to create or connect this meeting minute note, if you will, to what we call an action item form. So eBuilder offers the action item form as one of its standard forms in the Forms module. And in reality, what it is, it's just a way to create more accountability around tasks that need to be done within the project. So in essence, by clicking the link here, we'll click the new link. What it will actually ask you to do is create what we call an action item form. And if you've never trained on forms, I'll give you a small little crash course here. A form is basically one of the modules that we have, and you'll see that it's basically, in my opinion, a glorified email. What it'll do is it'll adopt automatically the subject of the meeting minutes. It will ask you to send it to a specific person. So I'll pick a role here first to make sure that we send it to a specific person in the system. First thing it's going to ask me to do is condense the recipient list to someone in a specific role. And yours truly is an EB admin right now. It will also ask me to present a due date. So I'll say this is due by Friday. And just like an email, it will ask you who you want to copy. And if you need someone to give you commentary from the outside world, meaning a non-licensed person, if you click this button, it will allow you to send an email out to someone in conjunction with this person asking for their feedback. Now, the fantastic thing about all this is that we're basically bringing 2 modules into one at this point, because the whole point of creating this in Forms is to create a very high level of accountability and reportability around things that need to get done. But we're also maintaining that in the calendar module simultaneously. I will finish this form and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So if I scroll down, I'm just going to basically state what I need done. So I will literally say what I need done. And just like any other form or process in eBuilder, I'd be able to attach supplemental files to this to make sure that the form is fully equipped with as much reference information and any viewpoints in the event that I'm using business information modeling. So when I'm done, I'm going to click Post Form, and the form will process in the Forms module, but simultaneously, it will record itself as a line item within my meeting minute. So again, let me express what's happening here. So we have a line here dedicated to notes gathered for schematic design, all the discussion points, the status, and we've generated an action item form basically saying that this person has asked this person to perform something as it relates to this. And the most important part of this, it will show the date due and the status, which is great. So now I want you to picture us having design review meeting number 2, which I am going to do for you so you can understand how this works, and understanding how this is going to be able to allow us to audit things and record the progress on people and the actions they need to take. Finally, on this row, you're going to see the little paper clip. Okay, and the little paperclip is always symbolic of attachments. So you ask, well, Martin, don't we have the Documents tab up here where we can attach documentation? The answer is absolutely yes, you do. But you also have this paperclip because by attaching it here, you are directly relating it to this topic of discussion. Okay, so eBuilder is kind of like a big filing cabinet. If you really think about it, you're organizing where things are going to be allocated in order for you to search for it later on. So are you going to create a document that circumvents everything that was discussed in this meeting? Well, then this is your ticket right here. But are you going to attach a document that specifically has to do with this topic of discussion? You're going to want to do it right here in this paperclip. And just like an eBuilder form, by clicking the paperclip, you're going to get an upload screen similar to this. I'm going to click Add. I'm going to choose my file. Let's attach my princess there as the official document. And because I'm bringing something from the outside world into eBuilder, I'm going to choose a destination folder within my folder structure, which in this point is just the basic documents folder. And I'm going to attach selected. And upon doing so, I'm going to let this screen complete. Upon doing so, I will go back to the screen that I was on before. And when I hit close, you will notice that the paperclip on the right-hand side has a number 1 to it. So I've basically attached a document to this line, referring that document specifically to the topic in question. Okay, so as the meeting progresses, notes will be taken in several subjects. If I grab a couple more subjects here and I just type in some basic stuff, I'll just type in schedule here, keep adding. This will accumulate over and over again, and I can add lines. And again, please use your judgment. If you decide to do this during the meeting, if it's, let's say, a small meeting and you can get away with doing it in eBuilder and not have a trouble going from line to line, then do it. It'll eliminate double entry. It'll eliminate the need for you to create a piece of paper with all your notes and come back to this later on. But if you're going to have a very extensive discussion and you're going to cover an array of topics, I know a design review meeting for sure is going to have an array of conversations taking place, right? I've been in many and I understand how that works. If you do decide to do it the way that I'm recommending it, I think the result will be you'll have a lot cleaner notes and you'll be able to take your time and put everything in accordingly without having to go back and edit things within eBuilder, okay? So the meeting is done. I have completed my meeting minutes. I am now in the process of making these minutes official. So the first part of that process is to send the meeting minutes. It's a professional courtesy that most people practice in the industry because if I'm recording what people are saying as far as notes, I want to make sure everybody agrees with what I recorded. So the first thing I'm going to do once these meeting minutes are completed is I'm going to click send here on the upper right. And upon clicking send, everything that appears here is what you would typically see in an email. Now, the great thing that eBuilder does is that it will assume if you want to add attendees, it'll let you click this button and let you click the 2 attendees that you invited. This will eliminate the manual entry of individual emails. If you want to send it to someone else that may be in the contacts module, you can leverage the lookup button here and it'll take you to the contacts module, or you can just simply hard code the email manually. Okay? Next is the subject line. I think all of us understand what goes there. If we've written an email ever in our lives, I think we know what goes in the subject line. And then we have the message box. And the message box is basically the details of what you are communicating in the email. Now down here we have something called a mail merge template, and as you can see it has a default template here, and the reason this is important is because you do have the ability of creating a formatted document within the system that will display the meeting minutes in a certain way based on your organization's needs. I'm going to show you the default template when we actually do this in my email. You decide that the default template is something you don't want to use because maybe it has the eBuilder logo and you want your logo and you want things in a certain place in the screen. We do have the ability to create mail merge documents around sending meeting minutes. Obviously, you'd have to talk to an associate here to get that process started if you don't already have this, but it is available to you. So I'm going to go ahead and click send. And upon clicking send, the meeting minutes have been sent to all the recipients. And just to give you some perspective, what the recipients have received, I'm just going to click this print button here because it will actually show you the document they've received, is a listing of all the topics that were discussed in the meeting. And what you are witnessing right now is the default template that we have for meeting minutes. So if, let's say, your organization does not like the way that we have it here, or they'd like something a little bit more elaborate, the typical things that I get is we don't want all these columns, we want less columns, we want different pieces of information. All that is possible. The typical one is the logo, though. Most people want to change the logo to their organization just to make it a little bit more official, but you're able to do this. So the recipients that you included in the email are receiving this document in essence, right? So once they've reviewed it, I'm sure in the notes you're probably going to put something to the effect of, you have 24 hours to respond to this request to review the meeting minutes, and at that point people are going to be responding to you and letting you know whether or not the meeting minutes are accurate, and perhaps offering some advice on some edits that you may need to do. But let's say you've gone through all that, you've gone into each one of the meeting minutes as the meeting minutes person, if you will, and you've edited everything. Now you are ready for the final step in the process, which is to publish the meeting minutes. And by clicking publish, it's going to give you a little warning message here that says publishing will make meeting minutes available to all attendees and restrict editing to only status updates. Are you sure you want to publish? Which basically means this: I can change the status on items, but I can't change the details of what I wrote. In essence, making the meeting minutes official. Okay? So by clicking OK, it's going to go ahead and do that. And now anything that has been written as a note cannot be edited. However, I can change the status from open to close. Now, in the next part of the video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another design review meeting very quickly so that you can see what happens when I have design review meeting number 2. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the calendar module. I'm going to make sure I'm in the same project, and I'm going to add an event. Okay? I'm going to just type in headline the way I did before. I'm going to pick the same meeting type, which is design review meeting. I'm going to set the time, set the location, the agenda, make it public, declare my invitees, same guy we invited before, identify the meeting minutes person, and send. Okay? So now our meeting is here, and again, I know that we're training, and this is going to kind of be a fast forward, right? And I understand that the meetings are right next to each other, but I did this on purpose for training. So when I open the meeting, just like I did the first one, you will note automatically that we are in a design review meeting, and the system has conveniently labeled this as number 2, which is great. It will sequentially number all of our meeting minutes. Now, before the meeting minutes person goes in and starts writing minutes, they're going to follow the same things that I talked about earlier. They're going to make sure the attendees are here. They're going to mark them down as attending, or they're going to add anybody that just spontaneously showed up to the meeting by using the add button as I described before. Now, before taking the meeting minutes, the first thing that people want to talk about is what is the status of all the things that we spoke about the last time we were together. So what eBuilder offers in that case is this button right here that says Add Open Items. So when you choose the Add Open Items, it's going to give you all the previous items that were discussed that are still in open status. So as you can see, all 3 of the ones that I listed in the previous meeting are in open status. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Carry Forward, and it's going to bring all those minutes right into this meeting minute number 2. Okay? Now, the great part of this is that now I'm managing everything a little bit more closely, and I can get an understanding as to our progress. And also, notice that the form that we created for schematic design is also included here, so we can actually see the status of that action item that we assigned earlier. In fact, if I click here in the subject line of this, it will take me to that form, and I can look at all the details and understand what the status is on this form. Now, I'm going to proceed to add more meeting minutes, or let's say the design review meeting number 2 meeting minutes in conjunction with the ones we have up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this issue has been closed, this issue has been closed, and this issue has been closed. Anything that was discussed in these topics have been declared closed. So if I go to design review meeting number 3, they are not going to be available to carry forward. They're just declared as closed. There's no more to discuss here. They're just public record at this point. Okay? Now, The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding minutes. So I'm going to say that this is about drawings and specifications. I'll just write specs here just to make it short. And what I want you to notice when I click add here, look at the numbering system that's being used. This is very important. Note that the first minute that I took for this specific meeting is labeled 2.1, which if you're doing the math, you will automatically equate to design review meeting number 2, first topic discussed. The great thing about this numbering system is that if, let's say, I was in design review meeting 20 and I still see things that have a 1 or a 2 in this area, there's obviously things that are being missed. There's obviously things that need to be addressed. There's obviously an accountability issue. So it's actually a great indicator to let you see exactly where you are with the different items discussed in the calendar module. So once you've recorded all your minutes, like we did the last time, you're going to go through the whole process of sending the items the same way that we did before. I'm going to go ahead and pick the 2 attendees. You're going to basically create the subject and hit send. And then when everybody responds, you're going to click publish. The warning statement will come out again, letting you know, hey, if you publish this, it'll become public record. And now the meeting is official. So thank you for watching today's video. What we learned today was something very simple. It was how to conduct a meeting within the meeting minutes module in eBuilder, how to record all the meeting minutes. We discussed the importance of identifying a topic, all the discussion points, managing the status, and adding an action item form to increase accountability as it relates to a meeting minute. We also discussed reference documents, both at the meeting level or at the meeting minute level here with this paperclip. Thank you so much for watching.
If you'd like to learn more about additional training opportunities, please contact your account manager.